Today is Monday, October 15th, 2012. New day. Good morning. Today I'm going to be reading Psalm 29, and we're back home and back reading. I'm going to open with a prayer. Dear Creator, help me to bring my mind into focus, to hear the message you have for me from the Word. Please bring your blessing on this project and on my day. Amen. Psalm 29, a psalm of David. Give honors to the Lord, you angels. Give honor to the Lord for his glory and strength. Give honor to the Lord for the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord echoes above the sea. The God of glory thunders. The Lord thunders over the mighty sea. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord splits the mighty cedars. The Lord shatters the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon's mountains skip like a calf, and Mount Hermon to leap like a young bull. The voice of the Lord strikes with lightning bolts. The voice of the Lord makes the desert quake. The Lord shakes the desert of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists mighty oaks and strips the forests bare. In his temple everyone shouts, "Glory!" The Lord rules over the floodwaters. The Lord reigns as king forever. The Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses them with peace. I just want to say there's a ton in this psalm, and I know people that have a skill to pull apart the really deep meaning of this psalm. I'm not one of them. But part of my goal here with this project is, one, to read them deeply, even if I don't have what it takes just in my head alone to really understand it. And another is to give an example of the value of reading the Word, even if we don't have at our fingertips what it perhaps means beyond literally the words on the page. I'm noticing the sort of different chunks of the psalm. The first couple of verses, the first two verses seem to be addressed to you angels, which I think is really interesting. Give honor to the Lord, you angels. Give honor and strength to the Lord. Give honor to the Lord. Worship the Lord. And then verse 3 starts to just talk about, it talks about the voice of the Lord for 1, 2, 3 verses. And then, verse 6 seems to still sort of be talking about the voice of the Lord potentially. It just doesn't say the voice. But it continues to talk about the voice of the Lord through verse 9. And then the last two verses seem to be set apart themselves. Now, I don't know if this is being suggested somewhat by the formatting in my copy, because it actually has a slightly larger margin between the lines between the second and third verse and the 9th and 10th verses. So that's certainly suggested to my brain, and yet another way that translators and formatters and people who create a translation have some serious impact on what it's like to read the Word. That's not a judgment either way, it's just an observation. But I also think there's a reason why they divided it there, and it seems like a pretty good division. The three chunks seem clear to me. And the piece that I'm wanting to zero in on is, the last two verses, but the last verse specifically. Verse 10, the Lord rules over the floodwaters. The Lord reigns as king forever. Floodwaters make me think of Noah's Ark. Bring me back to that sense of drowning in despair, drowning in falsity. And this is saying the Lord rules over the floodwaters, which could be taken as he's in control of that situation. So if I feel like I'm drowning, I could blame the Lord. But I think, for me anyway, it more means even if I feel like I'm drowning in false ideas or in negativity, the Lord is still in charge. The Lord reigns as King forever. Once again, I just have to acknowledge the Lord's power and the fact that the Lord is in charge of my life. And even if I don't feel better instantly, if I can hang on by the skin of my teeth to that knowledge, it can get me through a difficult time, a difficult moment, a difficult day. It can allow me to continue to have hope. And there's a difficult distinction between, in those dark times when I'm feeling so low, I could choose to interpret it as, all right, the Lord's in charge. Wait, if the Lord's in charge, then he could stop me feeling like this right away. But I feel like this, so he must be doing this to me on purpose. That's not fair. That's not okay. And on the one hand, God can handle anything I throw at him. I can be mad at God, and that's not a big deal. On the other hand, I lose out because it means I'm putting up a big barrier between me and the grace and the hope and the peace and the love that I can get from knowing that God is in control and from God to me directly. To reference several Psalms ago, talking about fearing the Lord. Oh boy, now I feel like I have to go back to that. I'm taking away from my time. I don't have time. I think fearing the Lord is about turning to the Lord when I'm feeling low and knowing that the Lord is there. And I want to figure that out and maybe have a separate episode that isn't on a psalm but is on putting some of those pieces together, because it's just speaking to me and I want time to reflect on it and share that with you. The last verse, the Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses them with peace. Pretty well sums it up. And I just want to hang on to that when I'm feeling down, when I'm struggling, when I'm in the middle of chaos and conflict, and to know that that is true always, whether I'm dealing with unhappy children or depression in my own life or trying to find peace where there is conflict in an organization, the church I'm part of. And knowing that the Lord gives his people strength, everyone is the Lord's people. I am, you are, people of every faith, every nationality, every race, both genders, of all ages, everywhere. All people are the Lord's people. And he'll reach us however we let him. What did this speak to you? What did it say to you? Please leave a comment below or email me at newdaygoodmorning@gmail.com. Thanks for being here with me, and I hope you have a blessed day.